Howdy folks, hope you're all having a good one, and welcome back to another game of throws in World of Warships with Rear Admiral Jingles. The star of today's show, in the British Tier 10 battlecruiser HMS Incomparable, is Tevenor, here in this Tier 10 domination battle on the Mountain Range map. To begin with, I think it would be a good idea to just take a quick look at the matchmaking, because this is actually pretty favourable matchmaking for a Tier 10 battlecruiser. For a start, there are no aircraft carriers. Wargaming haven't even managed to pull the old trick of sneaking a couple of hybrids in under the radar. There are also only 2 destroyers. And while there are 2 submarines, the Incomparable is unique amongst high-tier British battleships or battle cruisers in that it actually comes with aviation facilities. So he can put spotter aircraft up, not only to extend his firing range, but also to give him improved visibility of anything that may be trying to sneak up on him. Also, he's got hydro. So as far as the matchmaking goes, I mean, it'd be ideal if there were no destroyers or no submarines, and just lots and lots of crunchy on the outside, chewy on the inside cruisers for him to shoot at, but hey, you can't have everything. This is about as good as it gets. Speaking of crunchy on the outside and chewy on the inside, he is of course in the Incomparable, which is a battle cruiser rather than a battleship. And it's more light cruiser than heavy cruiser in all respects other than its guns. This is not very crunchy on the outside, but extremely chewy on the inside. The armour is terrible, but it's fast. And while it does only have 6 guns, this is absolutely not a case of the Gneisenau all over again. These guns don't quite get cruiser accuracy, but they're more accurate than the average battleship. Oh, and there's a small matter of their caliber as well. These are 508mm guns. Yes, these are 20-inch guns. It does only get 6 of them, but the accuracy is pretty consistent. And holy hell, these things hit hard. Even the high explosive shells will do 7,500 damage on a hit, with a 55% chance of starting a fire. And if you manage to get your citadel tickled by one of these armour-piercing shells, you will not get an awful lot of change out of 20,000 damage per hit. Oh, and you can get citadeled from surprising angles when this thing's shooting armour-piercing at you, because they are 20-inch shells. They will overmatch the typical battleship 32mm bow and stern plating. So this is one of those battleships that can and will citadel you from the front. However, with great power comes great fragility. It is horribly badly armoured, has an exposed citadel, and is absolutely huge, making it very difficult to miss when getting shot at. It does have pretty good stealth to compensate for that, however. But Incomparable captains would be very, very wise to make use of that stealth and island cover in order to get devastating salvos away with this thing and then quickly duck into cover before you get shot back at with anything resembling large caliber armour piercing. I mean, the armour's bad, so you take a lot of damage from high explosive as well. Oh, hang on a minute. What the hell is spotting him? Possibly a submarine at periscope depth? Having a look around there, seeing if you can see anything suspicious. He's popped up the engine boost just in case. Yes, this thing gets an engine boost. And while it will, and there are other people dropping depth charges around that island as well, there's probably an enemy submarine around there. What were we talking about? Oh yeah, high explosive shells. Yeah, the Incomparable has terrible armour, so even small caliber high explosive shells are going to cause significant damage. But it has access to a specialised repair party. So it can basically heal back pretty much all of the high explosive or flooding or fire damage. The armour piercing, however, going to be a problem. Okay, first blood to the enemy team. They've nailed one of the destroyers, and they have 2 of the cap circles, and are already 200 points ahead. But don't worry, it can always get worse. They've just lost their Minotaur, one of the tier 10 cruisers, and they've just lost one of their submarines. They are now 3 kills down. They're at less than 200 points, with a 300 point disadvantage. And while they are contesting the cap circle at Charlie, if you have a look at the map, there's absolutely no chance they're going to be in a position to do anything about the cap circle at Alpha. In fact, the surviving ships over there, the Edinburgh and the Montana, are very likely, if they're not careful, to be the next two casualties. So far, Tevenor hasn't hit a thing. Yeah, it hasn't been the greatest start for the team in general and him in particular. Although it does look like they're in a strong position to take this cap circle at Charlie. The thing is though, the enemy team, now that they've firmly consolidated their hold on the cap circle at Alpha, are likely to be moving east, doing the same thing at Bravo, which surprisingly nobody has tried to contest yet, and then are in a strong position to win this game by simply holding on to Bravo and fighting from there. Hey, Tevenor finally scores a hit or two. And, yeah. It looks like the next casualty may be the friendly submarine over there, because that enemy Edinburgh is in hot pursuit. Although he is getting shot at, but now he's managed to go undetected. Friendly submarine clearly not loitering around getting shot out of periscope depth. Some more shots out, this time at the enemy Rhode Island. And the enemy Austin has been picked up again, although he's in cover behind the island over there. Clinging on to life with about 1,400 hit points left. Some big hits on the Rhode Island. Alright. Tevenor is finally starting to make his presence felt. They still haven't flipped this cap circle though. And surprisingly, there's still nobody contesting the cap circle at Bravo. But then, a chance appears for the enemy team to suffer their first casualty. Shots coming out from behind the smokescreen over there at the Edinburgh. He's basically trying to get out of there, but in order to do that, he's going to have to give... I mean, it was an unwise choice to actually start shooting, because that revealed his position. Tevenor almost gets him, but it's in fact the Des Moines. This guy over here on the left. Gets the team's first kill and puts them up to 200 points for the first time since the start of the match. There's an opportunity here for another kill though, this time on the Rhode Island, who is burning quite nicely, has lost more than half of his health. Shots out, and, well, they're hits, but the amount of damage was kind of disappointing. Meanwhile, the U-4501 engaged in a fight for his life against the Austin, which he very narrowly wins, managing to kill the Austin before he could kill him, disengage and get the hell out of there. And here comes the Rhode Island, giving broadside to a battlecruiser armed with 20-inch guns. He's managed to put the fires out, but that ain't going to save him. And it is, of course, a Citadel. Because of course it is. I mean, why would the game give you anything other than a potential 20,000 damage Citadel hit on a target that only has 1,500 health left? It was a pity Citadel. It was a pitadel. Oh, hello. Well, good news, enemy destroyer spotted. Bad news, enemy destroyer spotted engaging a friendly submarine when the friendly submarine has less than 1,000 health left. And while I'm sure the team would like to stick around and help, they have slightly more pressing concerns, because despite those kills, they're still 200 points behind. And they're about to go 300 points behind as the enemy team finish off the Edinburgh. And there he goes, who, along with the Montana, who previously had been trying to defend the cap circle at Alpha, have spent the last 5 minutes cowering in the bottom southwestern end of the map. So the Edinburgh's down. They're now 300 points behind. The only good piece of news here is that the Ibuki over there and Tevenor here in the Incomparable have managed to take the cap circle after 9 minutes of trying here at Charlie. But the enemy team have Alpha and Bravo. If you look at the map, the enemy Halford over there is still pursuing the submarine, but he now has problems of his own because the Des Moines has detached to come to the submarine's assistance and has sunk him. Now that's not a bad thing, he has kept the U-4501 alive, but tucked all the way in the top northeast corner of the map over there, he's not going to be much use to the team alive for at least the next 5 minutes. Likewise the Montana, all the way down there to the southeast. In fact, he's so far down to the southeast that you can barely see him on the map anymore. And there's barely 10 minutes of this battle remaining. So there's some serious heavy lifting going to have to be done by Tevenor here in the Incomparable and the Ibuki with him, both of whom are extremely fragile ships. But as he comes out from behind the island here, he has a beautiful target in the shape of the Michelangelo. Oh yeah, that's what we're talking about. It was only the one Citadel, but look at the damage. Unfortunately, The Michelangelo can bite back. See the damage he took there from a single salvo from the Michelangelo's semi-armor piercing. The good news, of course, is that because of the Michelangelo's unusual turret arrangement, they're basically all midships, if it wants to fire all of those guns, it has to turn to give broadside. And this is a battlecruiser with 20-inch guns. Tevenor down to about half health there, sadly unable to finish the Michelangelo off, but there's some shots coming in from the Des Moines who can hopefully seal the deal. Activates his specialised repair party, recovers back almost all of the damage that he took. And yeah, that Michelangelo, he was basically playing a game of choose how to die. It was either the Marceau's torpedoes, and it was in fact the Marceau's torpedoes, but if it hadn't been that, it would have been the 8-inch guns from the Des Moines, or the 20-inch guns here from the Incomparable. Another good hit there on the North Carolina. Remember, these are 20-inch guns. They can overmatch 32mm of plating, which is the typical plating found in the bow and stern of Tier 8 to 10 battleships. Bit of a close encounter there with the Des Moines, who's angling up against shots from the Grosser Kurfürst and the North Carolina, but no harm done. Tevenor showing an uncomfortable amount of skirt to both the North Carolina and the Grosser Kurfürst there. Big hit on the Grosser Kurfürst, knocked out a gun turret too, but there's a method to his madness. Because as long as there's a cruiser spotted, it's unlikely that they're going to be shooting at him. With the Des Moines to his rear taking the attention of most of the enemy ships, except for that salvo from the North Carolina, and the Minotaur taking a bit of a slapping, but managing to go undetected in his smoke screen before anybody can finish the deal. Now then, choice of 2 targets. The North Carolina isn't presenting the best target, but he's probably easier to do damage to than the Grosser Kurfürst. But, oh, that was kind of badly aimed. Unless the Grosser Kurfürst, of course, turns around to show broadside, relying on his turtleback armour to prevent him from being citadeled, which is probably the case, but just because you can't really be citadeled at anything other than point-blank range doesn't mean you're not going to take large chunks of armour-piercing damage if you give a target like that to shoot at. This is almost certainly a dead Grosser Kurfürst, and it is. More good news, the Montana, down to the southeast, is not only still alive, he's also managed to sink one of his pursuers. He's managed to nail the enemy Iowa. Also, the friendly Dyson down to the south has won an extremely unlikely battle against the enemy Elbing. So, with the enemy team now down to just 3 ships, outnumbered more than 2 to 1, let us not start celebrating prematurely, because despite only having 3 ships left, they are still ahead on points, and are in possession of 2 of the 3 cap circles, with the Minotaur now flipping the 3rd at Charlie, although getting himself spotted in the process while doing it. And then, because outnumbered or not, he ain't going down without a fight, the North Carolina over there sinks the Des Moines, and the Minotaur completes the capture of the final cap circle at Charlie. Although they are still outnumbered 2 to 1, the enemy team now have all 3 of the cap circles. There is nobody in a position to recapture Alpha. There's nobody in a particularly good position, aside from maybe the U-4501, who could possibly, eventually, in a minute or two, contest the cap circle at Bravo. And the only people in a position to do anything about the Minotaur, who just flipped and is probably still in the cap circle at Charlie, are the U-4501 and the Marceau. Neither of whom are vessels that are likely to have any interest in getting into a gunfight with something like a Minotaur. Oh, did you see the dispersion on those shots? That was absolutely terrible. That was 2 shots from the same turret that looked like they landed 150 metres apart. Oh dear. Yeah, we really do need to be careful. The North Carolina has 16-inch guns, and they did a lot of damage. He's going to need to get some flex tape on that sucker. I mean, he can do a lot of damage to the North Carolina as well, but he's definitely going to need to hurry his ass up and get it done, because the Minotaur has very wisely decided not to sail out from around the corner of the island in pursuit of the U-4501 and expose himself to these 20-inch guns, and is instead very wisely shooting at him from concealment. However, he has managed to take out the North Carolina. Oh, fantastic job from the friendly Marceau. A considerable personal risk to himself. He's not only spotted the Minotaur, he's spotted the enemy submarine as well. That Minotaur naturally switches its guns straight to the Marceau because it's the single biggest threat. Not so much directly, although the Marceau can definitely look after itself, but it's the spotting. Beautiful. There goes the Minotaur. Unfortunately, enemy submarine does get its homing torpedoes away, takes out the Marceau. That's going to be a problem, because even though there's now just one enemy vessel left, the enemy submarine, the only things left to hunt him are battleships. And battleships don't hunt submarines. Submarines hunt battleships. Oh, and it's 400 points ahead and it has 3 of the cap circles. So, however, and yeah, look at all of the depth charges going in. The team, such as they are, despite enjoying a 4-1 numerical advantage over the submarine, are not in great shape, and they're not best placed to go hunting submarines. So, the Montana, you have a look at the map, this poor guy spent the entire game running away from the cap circle at Alpha after the rest of his teammates over there collapsed around him, and is now heading all the way back. He's finally going to achieve his aim of taking that cap circle. And the Montana's not a slow battleship, so he's going to get there within a minute or so. So he's doing that. The Dyson, who is on very low health, and probably the target of choice for that U-4501. Oh, depth charge hit. Well, that's great news. Now we know exactly where, well, we know exactly where he is right now. Following it up will be something of a problem. But yes, the Dyson is diverting away from where the submarine is, probably trying to line him up with some torpedoes, and he's going to take the cap circle at Bravo. So that leaves the North Carolina, and there's an oil slick, the North Carolina and Tevenor in the Incomparable to try to nail this submarine and at the very least retake this cap circle without getting themselves torpedoed and sunk in the process. Now the U-4501 is almost certainly still in the cap circle, but because he's not on the surface or at periscope depth, they're taking this cap circle uncontested. All members of the team have now arrived in their respective cap circles, so the U-4501 is no longer generating any points. But he's still on 940 points, and 1 kill will be enough for him to reach 1,000 points and win this battle. The submarine's problem, however, is that if he pings anybody, it'll give his location away, and even though he could get torpedoes away, he may not be able to actually get the kill before he gets hammered with depth charges. So it would be wise, because he doesn't need to kill anybody in order to win, it would be wise for him to simply run. He's at 940 points. And there's only 2 minutes left. There is no way, even with all 3 of the cap circles, 100% absolutely no way this team are going to win on points before the battle expires. They must find and kill this submarine. And they're all in battleships. And then Tevenor has a bit of a pants on head moment. Because when you're in something as big as this and you're completely stationary, the submarine wouldn't even need to ping you in order to hit you with torpedoes. However, and this is why I love these Game of Throws videos, because when you get a good one like this, you can just never tell which is the team that's going to be doing the throw right up until the dying minutes of the match. But sometimes the chat from the enemy team can give you some kind of hint. As one of the dead enemy players is saying, this has got to end up in a Jingles video. Because he can see what the surviving teammate is doing. And sure enough, the U-4501 is doing something monumentally stupid. I mean, why? I don't know, and honestly I don't care. I'm just happy that he was able to provide us with the entertainment. I mean, I don't even know what his plan was there. I couldn't even begin to guess. He never even launched a torpedo. But hey, at least it made for an entertaining video. Hope you all enjoyed it. Congratulations to the Des Moines on Tevenor's team in particular, who did extremely well, but Tevenor didn't do badly either, despite the slow start. And I hope you all enjoyed it, because that's it for today. As always, take care, and I'll catch you next time.